Hi everyone, and welcome to the Book Refuge, and welcome to my breakdown and recap, review, refer to the book for Outlander Season 5, Episode 9, Monsters and Heroes. And I'm going to choose to be mostly positive about this because there were so many moments during this episode that are directly from the book. It's covering just about 50 pages of book here, and it is some of my favorite stuff that happens in the Fiery Cross. And I was, for the most part, very excited about how they handled it. And then there would be a few moments where, like, I'm so wrapped up in it, and then we hit into that iron thick wall of hating on Roger and diminishing him as a character, which just always is like, boom, like you're running, and then it feels like I slam my face into a barrier and have to be like, oh, that's right, you guys hate Roger and I love him, and here's the problems that we're in. However, and we will get to this, I'm seeing hope. I'm seeing promise in what's coming in the next episode, and if it's taken 9 episodes to get to the Roger that I want us to have, so be it. I think that's ridiculous, but I will take it, and I'll take it with both hands, and I won't regret anything if I can get what I want out of this. So, all right, enough of an intro there. Thank you so much for joining me. You all have been just delightful. Interacting with you in the comments, discussing the book and things like that has been amazing. There's just a couple things that I want to go through first, and we will dive into this episode because there was some great stuff going on. First off, thank you all of you for my correction from last week. I know that they show a bear and then it's actually a boar that gets killed. I'm sorry, I got the two confused. But, you know, that's happened. I looked down for a minute, and then because I had seen the bear and then looked down, I was like, okay, this is happening. The main point is that Ian killed the thing that was going to hurt them, and I don't care if it was a boar or a bear or both of them or whatever. I'm glad Ian's back. I like how they did that. It was great. Second thing, I want to address the comments that Sam Heughan put out this week of the bullying and the harassment and the death threats that he's been getting. He is self-quarantining in Hawaii because he was there for vacationing, and then it became too dangerous for him to have to take 3 different planes to get back to the UK, where he was going to be stuck in a city. And he has just been getting lots of harassment, and his loved ones have, and I think that's dumb. I know none of you are probably even involved in that. Most of you are just wonderful lovers of the show and lovers of Sam. But it just made me so sad that this person we love so much and brings such beautiful things to the show. And I'm going to say it again during this review of this episode. The things that annoy me about this show are never the actors. They are golden. They are amazing. I love everything that they do. The problems that I have are almost solely about the people behind the camera and the choices that they make, and really have nothing to do with the excellent acting that everybody brings to this show. And I think Sam is such an amazing human, and the charities he's involved with and the good things that he does are amazing. Okay, enough fangirling over Sam Heughan. Let's dive into this episode. So right away, I was very excited. We didn't have any pre-title clip, but the clip and the title card had to do with Buffalo, and I was very excited because I knew we were going to see Buffalo because they had it in the song, but I didn't know if they just had Buffalo in there because, you know, we're in America, because I know they filmed this all in the UK, and I didn't know if we were going to have a buffalo. And so that was really exciting that we had a buffalo. Then it's pretty clear, like literally so many scenes open right from the book. I was so happy. We start with cute Mackenzie stuff. We see some sexy time, and then Jamie interrupts us. And I love that because it's such a parent thing to happen, where it's like, we all know we all have sex, and then your parents walk in on something and it's horribly awkward. And I love that. Of course, the thing that I don't like is that Jamie wants Bree to come with him, but settles for Roger. Again, Jamie and Roger don't have a good enough relationship in this series for me, and that's a problem. But I was like, yay, it's finally bro time. So we have all the men on the ridge. We have, is it Josiah? It might be Kezi. I can't tell today. I think it's Josiah. We have Ian, we have Fergus, we have Roger and Jamie, and they are all going hunting. And I was so excited, not only because this is one of my favorite parts of the book. This is part 8, beginning on page 760, and this part is called A Hunting We Will Go. And I was very excited for this. And I know this is some of the stuff that both Kat and Sam had mentioned they were excited for us to see, and I was hoping for it. I was hoping for it. So we finally get some bro time. And we have that getting started, and we have him getting bitten right away. We have this rolling off because there are more important things than the actual bite of the snake happening. So Jamie gets bitten by the snake, and Roger has to cut it and suck it out and spit it out. And so many of the lines are just directly from the book. One of the things I started doing while I was watching is I had my book open, and if a line, because I already have these like highlighted the crap out of these, you know, from my reviews I did, and I started highlighting under these lines what is said in the show, and there was quite a few where I was able to underline both, and I really appreciated that. So we get stuck with the bite, and then we pause and we go away to Bree and Claire, and they are working on dyeing clothes. So much fun. I love how beautiful the fabric turns out, and it reminds me of like Walking Wool, seen all the way back from season 1, and just that was something that was so foreign to Claire, and now it's something that she leads the Ridge in doing, basically. And we have this conversation starting where Bree and Claire are talking about like what they're going to do if they're stuck here. And I appreciate that we're finally starting this rolling, because it's been irritating me for this entire novel that we haven't had Bree doing anything. We've been seeing her being very overwhelmed with the trauma she's had. We have seen her and Roger having lots of friction together, haven't seen them working as a team, haven't seen them finding where they belong. And the thing that I'm trying to be appreciative of, and what I was really trying to, you know, come to grips with, okay, if I never read the books, what am I seeing as a character arc? Because there are those of you who've never read the books and you're just enjoying this. And though I always promise that I'm comparing these to the books, that's what I'm here to do, and you can find other people who haven't read the books, I'm still trying at some level to give this show its credit just for what it's doing. And I can see the arc that they're taking them on of, if this is the Bree and Roger that we have, how are they going to make a place for themselves? Are they just parroting the things that they see other people doing, or are they going to find a niche for themselves? And Claire really encourages Bree, and I like this because earlier in this season, if we're just going off this season, Bree was telling Claire not to change things, to be careful what new technology she introduced back in time. And Claire's encouraging her that, like, you are an engineer. That's who you're meant to be. You can still find a way to do that here with the limitations that you have. And so that little seed is planted. And already, right now, I started writing in my notes, Bree, make a syringe. And I know that this is true because this is what happens in the book. Like, she doesn't make the syringe before Jamie needs it. Like, it is a creation she discovers because need takes it. The thing is, this isn't her first engineering thing. And so that's where the irritation comes from me, is that this would be, they're making this the first time she feels like she can do that. And I wish that we've had Bree doing things before, because Lord John has been sending her things in the books, and she's been trying to make matches, and she's been trying to do indoor plumbing, and she's been working on these things with the limitations that she has. And if this is the instigation part of it, and we really see her like dive into that in the next seasons, like, cool. my heart will be happy if we can get some of that happening. And then we kind of have the discussion of, you know, this is who Roger is meant to be. Who is Da? Who is Da to you, Claire? And she's like, he's a laird and a husband and a father, and those are no small things to be, which that is, I really appreciated, because remember in the last episode, I wanted Jamie to say something like that to Bree when she's worried about where Roger's head is going and what's happening. And he says, like, he's a man, and that's no small thing to be. And then here we have Claire saying those words to Bree, and I appreciate that, because having Claire realize that, someone who at different times she's been frustrated that Jamie is so manly, that he always, you know, will react in a certain way, that has frustrated her before. But now it's something that she has come to lean on and appreciate and need from him, to know who this man is, and she loves that about him. So I like that we see that kind of character growth. That's something I adore about these books, is Jamie and Claire's marriage is never, like, it's a solid foundation for them, but it's never static. Like, it's ever changing, ever growing, ever getting deeper and deeper. And to see those bits of understanding is so exciting. So then we go back to Roger, and they have him able to talk fairly easily, but he can't scream. And so I was really frustrated with this at first, because they have him just like speaking just like a little bit croakily in the beginning of this, and I was mad because I was like, oh, Roger's just fixed now. Okay. But they do still have it being an issue, and I can see how they're going with that. They don't want their actor to have to, you know, strain his voice, because it's a strain to fake a strain. Like, it's bad for your throat. So I like the idea of he can talk now. He's been working on that, but he won't be able to sing, which is the most, like, that's why he loves his voice. And I think that's a good compromise, because he speaks. It just is something that gets tired over time in the books. Like, you couldn't do it for like long amounts of time. And so I like that compromise. I like how they got with that he's able to talk with Jamie, but he can't scream to call for help. And he has to find ways around that. And then we get back to Jamie roasting the snake and saying, fair is fair. You know, he bit me, I'm eating him. That's a great scene from it. And then we come to a straight up halt for me. Like, my notes go from being very happy to this, because, I'm so angry. Okay. This episode is still a win for me. Okay, it's still a win for me. But we come to this part where Jamie thinks that he's dying, and he starts telling Roger about his plans for Stephen Bonnet and what he's planning to do. And Roger, oh dear God, I can't even say this. I'm so upset. Roger says that he doesn't think he can kill a man, even one who's done what Bonnet did, even the one who has done what he did to Bree. And I'm dumbfounded. Like, I'm dumbfounded. And it's not even just that he's saying, like, I'm scared to kill someone. It's him saying, like, I don't know, vengeance isn't the way to go. This isn't what it's about. And, like, guys, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know how to do this. So, okay, let's try this. So, interaction in the show. Roger doesn't know if he can still kill Stephen Bonnet. And Jamie is telling him, okay, I'm working with Philip Wiley, and we're going to be drawing Bonnet in, and I need you to be able to kill him. And Roger's like, I don't know if I can do that, but, and Jamie's like, you have to. It's a matter of honor. You need to do this. And Roger just keeps being like, no, I don't think I can kill anyone. I can't do this. And so, book context. What's happening in the book? So, prior to this event of Jamie being near death, or, you know, almost about to die, he had started teaching Roger to fight, because Roger wanted to be prepared, not only for this time, because he had just been, you know, brutally attacked and almost killed, but also because he wants to be prepared to face Stephen Bonnet. That is already on Roger's mind. He already wants that revenge. He already is prepared to defend his family's honor and Bree and his own honor. Like, that is already a thing. This is still a Scott. just because he was born in the 1900s, he still has those prideful feelings and love for Bree where he wants her to feel safe. And he's not planning to leave. That is the fundamental differences that they have put into this TV Roger that I just can't get my heart around, that I just can't be okay with, because they've made him, I can't even find the words, because he's not weak necessarily, but he just doesn't have the conviction and the passion of the man that I love. This man is passionate all the way back in book 4, when he tells Bree, like, I'll have you or none at all. And they put that in the show, but they made him seem like whiny about it. Whereas our Roger, he was like, I know what I have to offer, and I'm not going to have half of you because you're afraid you'll love someone more. And in the show, he's more like, oh, I'm just disgusted with you. Like, no. And in fact, it's Jamie in the book who's like, you know, you're going to have to try to shoot him because you ain't good with the sword, and I've been training you for a while, and you're not good enough. And so Roger's like, well, then I guess you're going to have to live, and you're going to have to help me do it. And I just think that yes, because Roger says, so are you good? Are you a good enough fighter to go up against Bonnet? And Jamie says, yes, I am. And Roger says, okay, then you'll have to do that if you live. And Jamie says, okay, if I live. So it's a completely different interactions. In the show, we have Jamie kind of badgering Roger and saying, you need to man up, you need to do this, because this is what my family requires. And I believe they have him call him son in there. They just have it like slipped in, which I'm like, fine, you're saying it at the wrong moment. It should have been before. And then we have book Jamie, who was like, hey, I know you're going to want to do this. I need you to be careful. You know, don't be stupid about it, but you still need to do it. And it's already something Roger wants to do, and they're going to be partners in it, is what was always going to happen. And instead, we have a Jamie who's berating Roger and saying, like, you need to get this done because it's a matter of honor. It's just completely different things. And I wrote, like, why is Jamie trying to convince him to do this? That is not the Roger that I know and love, that he would need to be convinced to kill this man who brutalized his family. Just not there. But then the last words of the chapter are very good. Like, he's starting to, we have him in the show starting to drag Jamie as close to home as he can. And he starts saying, like, you, in the show, they have him say, you need to go back as soon as you can. If I die, make Claire go with you. And if the Baron can go, you all need to get out of here. That is something that he says. It's a little later in the book, but that is something that Jamie says. But also in the book, Roger's not planning to leave. This is never a thing. The Mackenzies are not trying to go. There is a point later on where that will get brought up, but it's not now. Roger is committed to his family here. They're not trying to go back. They want to be with Jamie and Claire. Roger isn't a ninny who's afraid of living in the 1700s. It's just not, it's not a thing. But it is a thing where Jamie's like, it won't be safe for Claire here without me. If I die, you need to take our families and go. And so I appreciated that. And then he has the lines of, like, tell Brianna I'm glad of her, give my sword to the Baron, and for Claire, tell her that I meant it. And that's the end of a chapter, and that's how they kind of had that interaction end. And then Fergus and Ian end up finding them, and they take Jamie home. And we have Roger praying, though. Like, he prays when Jamie passes out. And I like that they have that in there. They're showing him again that he is, you know, in touch with the Lord, that he is still, his faith is still important to him. We haven't got to see that be too important yet, and I really appreciated that. Now we have Jamie and Claire back in the same place, and we start the battle of, will we keep Jamie's leg or will we lose it? This is a very hard part of the book for me. I think it is for a lot of us. The biggest change, because here's the thing, there's only really two things that I'm going to mention as, like, differences here, because I think that it went very true to the book for a couple things. One, we have Ian here with us in the show. In the book, he's not here when this happens. And in regards to Ian, whose father is missing a leg and has loved his father, you know, he loves his father, but has looked to Jamie as more of a true role model probably than his own dad, because his own dad, he felt like had to make sacrifices because he couldn't fight in Culloden, and then had to, you know, lie about his feelings about it to keep his family out of jail and to keep their land. And so Ian Sr. had to make sacrifices that his pride probably didn't want him to do, but he was still very strong. And so having Jamie say that he'd rather not live without his leg because, you know, Fergus lost his hand when he was young, and Ian, I mean, honestly, Ian was still youngish too. Ian Sr., he was only in his, he was only 20 when this happened to him. And we have young Ian berate Jamie, and kind of regress to being a younger character. So the reason why I have a problem with it, not because I don't think Ian would confront him about this, but I feel like we lost some of the gravitas that Ian had in the previous episode, which I very much liked. I feel like he came in very strong. And even though I didn't like how that episode was done, I really loved how John Hunter Bell did that. But I feel like we had him revert to childlike just a little bit too much, just a little bit too whiny about it. Like, I really would have preferred that confrontation with Jamie was more like, you're wrong. You know, not so much like, how dare you think this way? Like, you're nothing like the man my father is. You know, he kind of throws a tantrum at Jamie. And though the words he said I appreciate, I wish that would have been played more as like, you're nothing like the man my father is if you just give up like that. Because I feel like there's more weight to that when it's said in an unemotional way. That's just my opinion. Take it or leave it. I believe that Ian would have reacted that way. Would have reacted badly to that if he had been here. So I think that's true. I really like the moment with Fergus. I said, oh, wow, Fergus is getting to talk. That's great. So that was nice. We have the buffalo come in. Claire does not jump on it and slit its throat. Much appreciated, actually. So they're able to kill the buffalo. It's kind of weird because, again, I feel like they put in the buffalo kill because people would have been pissed if it wasn't. But then there's, nothing more said about it, which is kind of how it goes in the book, too. Claire is just deciding whether she's going to have to cut off Jamie's leg or not. And then there's a buffalo, and she goes and kills it and, comes back in. Which is kind of what happens in the book, too. Which is kind of random. But, okay, so our interactions with Jamie and Claire. The meat of this, what we were all looking forward to and dreading and excited about. So first off, we have Claire being honest that if we can't get the swelling to go down and it turns gangrenous, I'm going to have to cut off your leg. And she's being very serious, and Jamie is so many lines of this are right from the book. It's beautiful. Jamie being when you yell at me, I know that I'm going to be okay, and you're not yelling at me. And so she's like, okay, you bloody man, stepping on a snake. Don't you watch where you're going? And I love that. She even says it so sadly, but she still will banter with him because she knows that he needs it. And then we have him grab the saw, and he says, I need you to give me your word. And we have this interaction that blends over the top of what's in the book, but also the way this is acted, and this is where I mean it, it's so beautiful how this is acted. And Sam plays just the right level of feverish. His wig is all out of whack, weird tendrils on his face. That's fine. But him and Kat are so wonderful here. It makes me forgive so many sins when I see these two interact together, because I see Jamie and Claire in those moments. And that wins me over so much when I see that. I can forget almost anything. And so he has this where he's like, I know what you're thinking and I won't have it. And she says, I won't do it unless I have to. And he's like, no, you won't do it at all. I don't want to be so out of my wits that you do this without me having a choice. You're not going to take my leg. And so they have this argument, and he says, I need you to promise me. And so she does, even though she knows that she's going to regret it. So I love that. We have an interaction with Roger where he comes in and says, so how is it, man? And he's like, I'll do. And Jamie says, oh, finally, he says, it's good to have a Roger Mac. And I was like, thank you. Please give me more camaraderie. Please give me some love between these two. I'm starved for it. And I loved it so much. So we have that. And then Jamie gets brought to his bed because he says, I'm not going to die in a sick bed. And Claire's like, you're not going to die. You're not going to die. And she is, she's trapped in this place where, and she has the conversation with Bree, like, should I take his leg? Should I not? Is it better to have him hate me forever? Or would I do it? And I like the conversation they have her have with Bree, because that is the conversation that we're seeing in her head with herself, and you can't do that on show. So having her talk with Bree, where Bree's like, at least he'd be alive to hate you. And she's like, but every time he'd look down, he'd know that I took his leg. And whenever he's frustrated or having a bad day or can't do what he wants to do, he's going to hate me and it's going to eat away at him. So it's a choice of letting him go out the way he wants or saving him and have him be half a man. And the thing that I wish that Jamie had said to Ian, which is his sentiment to Claire, is that those other men could handle it, but I'm weaker than them. Like, he literally admits it. He's like, my pride is too great. They're better men than me. Like, I cannot be missing my leg. Or that's what he tells himself. So then we have the night where she brings him into bed, and they have Claire calls him back from death. So this is very much like the book, except they made it a little more, they swell the music. They make it a little more dramatic, because in the book, she crawls into bed with him, flesh to flesh, trying to keep him warm because he's very cold. So he asks her to lay with him. And then he asks her to touch him. And in the book, she is sexually touching him to, like, keep him there with her. And I love how Diana writes, because if that just gets explained to you, like, Claire rubs one out for Jamie so he doesn't die, like, that sounds so strange, right? Like, it does. But here's the thing too, between these two, the touching each other has always anchored them. It always has. Back when, like, they first were starting their marriage, they would be able to communicate in a way without words. And even their words came easier when they could touch each other. And then when they'd be separated, it would be like this wall was between them and they just couldn't communicate. And that happened quite a lot in Outlander, the first book. And even some in the second book when Jamie, and that's why what happened to him with Blackjack was so devastating, because Jamie is physical touch. He communicates with his body to his wife, and not just in a sexual way. And when Blackjack messed with that, he messed with their communication flow. So knowing all of that, when Jamie's asking Claire to touch him, and she doesn't fully know what's going on. In the book, right? In the book, we're still talking about that. It's so powerful to me. Now, the way they did that on the show, I think, was still beautiful, except it's hard. Like, it's hard to see that come across because you're seeing her, she takes off her clothes, lays naked with him, and you're pretty sure she's touching him, and then he breathes, and it's very clear that his heart had stopped, and her touching him brings that back. And I thought it was still so powerful. I had tears in my eyes. I can't deny it. And then so they switch the conversations around in the show, where he agrees the next morning to let her cut off his leg if they can't do anything else, because he's like, you need me and I can't leave you. And I love that about him, because he's ready to make a sacrifice of what he feels like is very high cost to stay with Claire, because he has promised that he won't leave her. And also, they still believe that he won't die until a certain time. Now, this is something they've kept out of the show, the fact that there's a gravestone in Scotland that says a certain time, or that's in Scotland. So they believe he's going to die in Scotland. And so, you know, Claire's pretty sure she can say, I don't know. That's a whole nother thing. We don't have to get into that. But Claire says, like, you were tried to die on me. And he was like, it didn't take much effort, Sassenach. Not dying was a lot harder. And this conversation is so beautiful, though. And he tells her, he's like, you needn't worry. I've made my choice. I won't be leaving you. And I love that. I love it so much. And I love that he's willing to do that. And he even says, in the book, he says, he's like, I could have died last night, but I decided not to die and stay with you. And he says, like, a line from the book is, there's a great deal of time between beats of a heart, and I made my decision in between mine. And the fact that in the book, they lead you to believe that, like, his heart stopped and he saw the passageway, he saw where he could go to heaven, and he decided to have his heart beat again. And I love how the book shares that, and I feel like the show did a really good job of that too. And so he agrees to let her take his leg. So here's where the show, like, ratchets this up a little bit. This is great. We have that he's already decided to do it. So they're not trying anything else, which is fine. Because in the book, they do something that Jenny did when he first got injured in the thigh by Blackjack. And that was cut through the flesh down to the bone and clean it with boiling hot water. And I'm glad we didn't do that, because that was traumatizing. And I think in the show, it was like, we're just going to skip to this because it already looks bad enough. And Claire's been saying she wishes that she could inject him with penicillin right into the wound, because all he's doing is drinking it, and that's not being effective enough. And so now, finally, Bree gets her moment. She and Roger, she sees the snake. She realizes that it has a hollow point. She finds a way to make a syringe using beeswax and this, like, cloth wrapped in beeswax, and a way for Claire to push the penicillin into his wounds. And I just love that. I love that Bree figures that out. I love that it's dramatic right before they're about to cut off his leg. And they didn't do a line from the book, which is really funny, where Claire, like, pokes it in many places. And then Jamie's like, well, I'm basted like a Christmas turkey. Do you think I'm done yet? And I love that about him. I love it so much. So we've ended up saving his leg. And also Marcelly and Fergus. Marcelly has a baby out in the woods. That's great. I love that she finally had the baby. And it was Felicity. It was Felicity. So we were having Felicity. I'm so happy that we didn't, like, skip a baby and, like, bring any of that stuff forward. So this is baby number 3. And we have Germain, Joni, and Felicity. So we have our 3 little Fraser kids, which is so exciting. And then Roger is going to be willing to go after Bonnet, which I'm happy about. We see that in the previews for next week, so I'm excited about that. So, okay, there's my normal rambling, getting through everything. I gave this up, like, I don't normally rate these, but I felt like I would with this, because I feel like the last couple have been kind of negative, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just being honest about how I feel, and most of you have been open to that. I gave this like an 8 out of 10. I feel like adaptation-wise, it was very good. We have 3 episodes left and only like 150 pages of book, so I'm still super interested. It looks like we're, one thing I skipped over is that Roger tells Bree the plans to go after Bonnet, and that he might try to take Jemmy away, because he could say that Jemmy is his, even though there's no proof of that. Bree told him that he was, and then because she got pregnant, and Roger and Bree didn't get married until after Jemmy was born, that he could try to get River Run through Jemmy. So this is interesting. I feel like this is a cool way to go with Stephen Bonnet. I'm not mad about it. I think it still leads to the same interactions that happen in the book that we're about to see. I hope Roger and Jamie, I want to see them have a fight training sequence so badly, like I might cry. And I hope that this leads to a better camaraderie with them now. Now, not only in canon TV has Roger tried to save Murtaugh, he now has saved Jamie. So I really hope we're in the right direction with them. And we have Bree starting to use engineering. We have Roger coming up with determination, and I'm feeling good about that. I hope you're feeling good about that. I'm going to leave this on a positive note because overall I felt very positive, and I'm very excited to watch this one again when I'm not following along with the book and just soak in all the feelings, because I have lots of feelings. So thank you so much for watching this. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell to be notified when I upload. I do much other book content, including I have an Outlander playlist, which has all of my reviews for these episodes, all my reviews of books 1 through 6 and the previous seasons. So make sure you check that out. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.